With Critical Role Campaign 4 only 4 days away from time of recording, I cannot stop thinking about the beginning of the campaign. I think I said it in a previous video, but I've never been caught up and ready to go at the beginning of a campaign. I've always started way later, like Campaign 2, I'm currently watching now. I'm only like 7 years behind, and then Campaign 3, I hopped in 13 or 14 episodes in. So I've never seen the start of a campaign, and I am so giddy. I feel like I'm about to start a new campaign, but obviously I'm just sitting here alone in my basement talking to a mic. But besides the point, um, today I'm going to sit down and talk about the things I'm most excited for in this new campaign, and then a shorter list of the things that I'm concerned about leading into this campaign. Um, I don't think they're going to be bad, but just things that we don't know yet or things that have changed that makes me a little concerned. Um, my name is Alec. This is Alec the DM. If you are into Critical Role content or DM knowledge, D&D news, all that kind of stuff, you're in the right place. Hope you stick around. Don't forget to like and comment. Tell me things you are excited about and things that you are concerned about. But let's start off with the good stuff. I like to start off positive and the things I'm most excited for. The one thing I am the most excited for is they are using the 2024 rules and subclasses. And I know it's not that much different than normal 5e, but one thing I'm excited for is seeing Brendan DM in something that I currently am DMing. I'm DMing in the 2024 rules with the 2024 subclasses. I know they will probably have some homebrew subclasses, but it's kind of cool to see exactly how they run it, especially with like weapon masteries. That's really the big one. Seeing how they run those and just seeing how the table in general uses them. I'm very new to DMing. I'm DMing about almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in about a month. So I'm still pretty new. But seeing how their table uses the 2024 rules and things that they implement and just their creativity running free with these rules, I think will be super exciting to see. Something I'm super excited for is Brennan as a DM. I know very little about him, which is one reason why I'm excited. I don't watch Dimension 20. I haven't really watched much of his like EXU or Calamity stuff. I just don't really have the time to watch all of Critical Role. I don't watch any Dimension 20 because I'm not about to pay to watch D&D when I can watch it for free on YouTube. But again, soapbox for a different video. Maybe one day I'll get around to making that video. But Brendan as a DM, I think, brings this new crazy and never stopping mind that he has. I've heard he is very creative. I've heard he's a very great DM, but I've also heard he's kind of more of a comedic DM, at least in his Dimensions 20 stuff. I don't know how he has been in Calamity and stuff like that. I'm hoping he sticks to a more serious tone than his Dimension 20 stuff, but we'll get to that when we get to my concerns. I think Brendan brings a really cool DM style from what I've heard compared to Matt, but I've loved Matt's DM style of like very cinematic and his world building is insane. Hopefully Brendan can live up to the hype, but we'll see. The next thing that I'm super excited for is all of the players. The fact that there are 13 players, mostly the fact that Robbie is back, has me most excited, but I'm just a Robbie fanboy at heart. The fact that there are 13 players is super cool. That is so many different personalities, so many different characters and backstories that we all get to know. My favorite TV show in the entire world is Game of Thrones. You have so many characters, so many plot lines, so many backstabbings and combats, all with these characters that you get to know very intimately. That is one reason I'm very excited for Campaign 4. Being the fact that we have 13 players that will all be intertwined together is very exciting from the viewer standpoint, potentially. From a DM standpoint, I also think that'd be super fun because you have all these things you can kind of interweave into your campaign, into your story. I think as a DM it'd be super fun. Stressful, but fun. Going along with that and just continuing that thread, the West Marches style has me super excited. I think running a West Marches style would be very fun as a DM, especially if you have players who are busy. If you have any players that are kind of like mine, we all have kids, we all have families, and some of them travel for work a lot, and it makes it hard for them to make it to game tables. Also, if you're busy, it's hard to meet up often, but some people could. So if you ran West Marches style, you could have some groups meet every other week, some groups meet every 3 or 4 weeks, and then they still get the playtime. The people who can come more often get to play more often. I have a homebrew world that I've made myself. I've been working on for the past 2 years. The continent is called Tarmir and is the continent that my players are currently running around and currently exploring. The world is not fully fleshed out. I'm kind of just building it in front of them, but it's been super fun. But that is a world that eventually I would like to run a West Marches style campaign in, because I'll have it fleshed out already. I'll know everything, so I can just kind of run it and wing it pretty easily. So seeing a West Marches style done has me excited, because potentially I would like to run a West Marches style in my game eventually. The next thing that has me excited is Ahriman. I think that's how you pronounce it. I loved Exandria, but Ahriman has me super excited. The world building aspect of a DM is my favorite part. I enjoy playing as well, but being a DM, I get to world build, and that to me is super duper exciting. I love just creating cities and creating what's going on in that city or the world in general. Creating plot hooks and all that kind of stuff is super fun. I'm excited to see what Brendan brings to the table. I don't know where he said it at. He said in an interview somewhere that he likes the idea of telling the story from the orcs' perspective from Lord of the Rings, that they're kind of like the prisoners who kind of just get murdered because they were prisoners to the bad guy, and telling stories from the orcs' perspective. So I think that's super cool. I like the idea of it anyways, and the fact that all the gods are dead. I'm super excited to see what they do with that. I'm hoping it's not just the gods are dead and that's it. But like I've said in my last video when I talked about the players, I'm super excited to see what they do with like paladins, clerics, and even warlocks, to see what they do with that, with the fact that there's no deities, to see how they deal with how they find faith and who gives them their powers. And the second to last thing I'm excited for is to see Matt as a player. I watched Matt in whatever one that Abria DM'd. I don't know what that was called. I forget. But I watched that one, which you also get to see Robbie. That's mostly the reason I watched it, because I heard Robbie was on it. But getting to see Matt be a player at a table is super exciting. And I've heard his character is terrible to deal with. All the players that talk about Matt's character talk about how he is an awful person, which is the complete opposite of what Matt is in real life. So it'll be fun to see this like strange, I don't know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or however the phrase goes. I think it'll be cool to see Matt play in general. I don't know what character he's, or like we have seen his character, but I don't know his class yet. I'm disappointed because I wanted to see him play full spellcaster, but who knows? Maybe he'll still have spells like a bard or something like that. But he seems to be just like a brain dead fighter. We'll see. The last thing that I'm excited about is a potentially more deadly campaign where their choices matter and they have consequences. And Brendan said in one of his videos that if you mess around in a area that you should not be at, then you are going to mess around and you will find out the consequences, because he's not level scaling anything, which I think is super fun. I like just having encounters ready to go, and if you find it, well, you're either going to stomp it or you might get stomped. I feel like, especially campaign 3, it was not a very deadly campaign, and other than Odilhan Thule, no one really was on the verge of dying, because they kept having the Mighty Nine or Vox Machina come in and save them time and time again. I'm hoping Brendan does not do that, being that the Mighty Nine and Vox Machina or Bell's Hells don't exist in this world, so they cannot get saved from level 20 high level parties. I want to see, hopefully, a few player deaths to make it seem like the world is real and it's actually scary and deadly. I'm hoping not a lot. I'm hoping the players that die off are the ones that I'm not interested about, but knowing my luck, it'll be all the characters that I really like who are going to die early. So that is all my things I'm excited for, and I have a few things I am concerned about. The first thing I'm concerned about is Brennan as a DM. As I've kind of alluded to before, I don't know much about him. I've become so accustomed to Matt's DM style and the way he runs a table and the way he describes scenes, how he world builds, all this kind of stuff. I've watched hundreds of hours at this point of Matt DMing. So I'm just kind of like my brain just kind of goes to him. And I'm pretty sure my DM style is the way it is because I watched Matt so much. So seeing Brendan DM is going to be very weird and has me a little nervous because I have no idea what he's going to be like. I'm hoping he keeps it serious when it's supposed to be serious and funny when it's supposed to be funny. But being that he's a great DM, obviously they chose him for a reason. I know he'll do a wonderful job. I just hope it's my cup of tea and everyone else's cup of tea, of course. My other concern is the new world. Us Critical Role fans are kind of used to Exandria and like feel very attached to Exandria. We know Tal'Dorei and we know Wildmount, all these different settings and cities. It's kind of fun to always hear them or hear when they go back to Whitestone, see how different it is from campaign 1 to campaign 3. I think the new world will have some excitement, but whether it can hold the excitement like Exandria has over all these years will be, I think, in my opinion, the big part of the campaign on whether the world can hold the excitement. The next thing I'm nervous for is the West Marches style. I'm very excited for it, but this style of game has possible concerns to it as well. The biggest thing I'm concerned on is how often we'll see people play from the different tables. Are they going to do each week is one table? And if that's the case, you could go a full month without seeing your favorite character again. Or if they leave a storyline on a cliffhanger, it is a full month until you get a conclusion or the continuation of that storyline. I love Robbie, if you haven't picked up on yet. But I also love Laura and Liam. Those are probably my 3 favorites at the table. Hands down, my 3 favorites. If they're on the same table, which I don't think they would be, but who knows? If they're at the same table, I'm going a full month until I see those 3 guys again. What if I really love Liam's story and now we have to wait 4 more weeks to hear what happens? To me, that's just kind of annoying. But maybe the other stories will be so compelling that you won't really notice. The other thing that I'm worried about when it comes to the West Marches style is that having 13 players with potentially a month in between storylines, I don't know if you're going to get the deep emotional connections that we had in previous campaigns, especially campaign 3, being that almost everyone lived except FCG, but that was mostly on him. I think they all probably would have lived if FCG wouldn't have sacrificed himself. But other than that, we knew everyone else the entirety of a campaign, 130 something episodes, whatever it was. You got to know Laudna and Imogen and everyone else very, very well. You knew all their ticks, what they liked, who they liked, everything about their backstory. I'm afraid that if we only have, let's be honest, it's probably going to run 3 years again. So roughly 130, 140 episodes if I had to take a guess. But you're cutting it into a third of that per character potentially. And that's if they survive. So now we're going to have 30, 40, maybe 50 episodes per character if they survive even. So that's not as much time to get to know them or their storylines or their backstories. I could be wrong, but that is one thing I'm most afraid of. The player backstories is what keeps me going in the campaigns. The main quest is kind of secondary to me, especially in campaign 3. Campaign 2, I haven't quite gotten to what the main quest is. they're kind of just fiddle farting around in other stuff right now. They're dealing with Four's backstory and what is her Jester? I don't know why I couldn't think of Jester. They're dealing with Jester stuff now. They just met her mom and they just kind of stole a ship in campaign 2. That's where I'm at right now. So if you know what I'm talking about, that's where I'm at. Campaign 3's main story was fine. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was fine. It was super exciting at times, but then other times I feel like it lulled. But the character stories to me were all fantastic. Even Ashton, who I don't really like, and I've been on record saying I don't like, his story was even super good. So if the character stories aren't as deep and emotional, or we don't feel as connected to them, then I feel like the campaign as a whole could potentially flop. But, maybe I'll be eating my words here in a couple years. Maybe this will be the best campaign yet, and everything will be good. But leading up to it, these are my excitements and my concerns. Like I said, I am so excited to see what Brandon does. I'm very excited and curious to see how these first 4 episodes go. We know they're already recorded, and supposedly all 13 are at the table at once. I don't know how that works. I know they said at times that the players who weren't currently at the table were watching the table, so maybe they're going to go back and forth within the same episode. I don't know. I think the first 4 episodes could be super telling of how the campaign as a whole will potentially go. I know we'll see a huge variety of table layouts of who's at which table and a whole bunch of different player dynamics and see how they work together. I still think that this first 4 episodes, they're going to start separate, come together because they're probably going to work for an organization or something along those lines that sends them out. And that will, when they'll formally get their quote unquote table assignments, because they'll get put into different groups or parties from kind of like Bertrand Bell, that kind of character. They'll have a quest giver, a patron, I don't know, commander. That is my guess. I could be completely wrong, but if I had to make an educational guess or, put $20 on a bet, that would be my bet. My bet is that they have some sort of commander or quest giver that puts them into squads and sends them out. And where they explore is up to them. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're all part of a Thieves Guild and they're just run around doing shit for fun. We'll see how it goes out. But that is all I got for you today. If you like it, don't forget to like, comment down below, subscribe for more D&D and Critical Role content. Sorry this video was so far since the last one. I was sick. My whole family got sick. And I've just been tired. Being sick made me tired. Dealing with my sick kids has me tired. And just life in general had me tired. But I'm good to go now. I have another episode coming out before Campaign 4 starts. I am ranking my interest in all the characters based on their artwork alone, not based on the character or the person playing them, and not based on any information we have, just based on I guess it could be based off information we have so far, but mostly off the character art because we don't know a whole lot of information about the other people. But again, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. I am Alec the DM, and see you next time.